In June 2022, a bizarre discovery sparked a political firestorm in South Africa. Over $500,000 in cash was found stuffed inside a sofa at a private game ranch owned by President Cyril Ramaphosa. An official, independent investigative panel, known as a Section 89 committee, reviewed the incident. They concluded there was prima facie evidence suggesting the president might have committed serious misconduct by concealing the theft. By law, this finding is supposed to be the first domino in a theft sequence. A finding of prima facie evidence by a Section 89 panel is designed to automatically trigger a full, open parliamentary impeachment inquiry. But in December 2022, the political math protected the president. His party, the African National Congress, held an absolute commanding majority in parliament. Using their numbers, the ANC invoked a procedural mechanism called Rule 129I. They simply voted down the independent panel's report, intentionally short-circuiting the impeachment process before it could even begin. This created an immediate test for the Republic. If a ruling party holds enough seats, can they simply vote to ignore the law and shield their executive from investigation? The opposition parties, led by the EFF and the ATM, refused to accept the parliamentary blockade. Rather than fighting a losing battle against the ruling party's numbers on the floor of the National Assembly, they escalated the dispute out of the legislative branch entirely. In February 2024, they filed a case. The showdown would take place at the apex of the nation's legal system, the Constitutional Court of South Africa. This was a massive political gamble. The opposition forced the highest court in the land to decide whether unelected judges had the authority to override a majority vote cast by the nation's elected lawmakers. On May 8, 2026, Chief Justice Mandisa Maya delivered the court's answer. The legal logic was highly specific. The court ruled that when an independent panel finds prima facie evidence of misconduct, the National Assembly does not possess the discretion to stop the process. As a result, the Parliament's December 2022 vote to block the inquiry was declared unconstitutional and completely set aside. This ruling established a strict precedent for South African law. Constitutional obligations act as a solid ceiling on parliamentary majorities. The rules of democracy cannot be voted away just because one party has the numbers. Stripped of their procedural shield, the National Assembly moved to comply. They are now legally forced to rapidly establish a formal impeachment committee to reinvestigate the cash scandal. This creates a logistical nightmare for Speaker Thoko Didiza. She has to structure a mega committee that includes representatives from all 18 political parties currently sitting in the House. Meanwhile, President Ramaphosa is launching a review application of the original panel report. By arguing the matter is sub judice, under judicial consideration, his legal team hopes to buy the presidency significant time and delay the committee's strict timelines. Within the span of a single ruling, the executive branch lost its legislative armor and found itself exposed to a mandatory, highly public reckoning. The political environment facing this committee is vastly different from 2022. In the historic 2024 elections, the ANC lost its absolute parliamentary majority. Ramaphosa now relies on a fragile government of national unity, composed of 10 disparate political parties to stay in power. But removing him requires a steep threshold. An impeachment conviction demands a 2/3 majority, or 266 votes. The opposition cannot reach that number alone. This creates a brutal political trap for coalition partners like the Democratic Alliance. They are forced to choose between publicly defending a compromised president in an open committee or joining the opposition and collapsing the entire government. This political gridlock has consequences far beyond the halls of Parliament. By placing the presidency under a months-long investigation, the committee creates a period of executive uncertainty that global markets are already beginning to price in, affecting both the value of the rand and investor confidence in future reforms. It is important to note that this impeachment committee is an investigative body. It is not a final verdict on the president's guilt. Yet, despite the political chaos it introduces, the activation of this process proves something vital about South Africa. The democratic institutions functioned exactly as designed. The system successfully stress-tested itself, overrode a partisan blockade, and forced